Make a pick and roll with it. Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm alongside professional handicapper Albert Nguyen. Albert and fellow fast breaker Doug Kazarian went 3-0 on the Valkyries' win over the Sun last night. So, Albert, why don't you give us a little recap of yesterday's winners before we dive into today's two-game slate?
Yeah, Doug and I were texting on the side basically before the show, after the show, before the game, after the game. But we loved the Valkyries yesterday. We made it a full unit play on this show, but we personally had a lot more, to be honest, exposure. I know I did. So very happy that, they covered first half, they covered full game. It was somewhat of a close game heading into that second quarter, but they pulled away in the second half, which was great to see. I mean, the Sun were on a second night of a back-to-back. It was a fourth game in a really long road trip. Golden State coming off a loss. They're at home, one of the best home court advantages in the league. So, I mean, it was like perfect storm. And, it's great to have one of like your most confident bets all year hit. And so we'll continue to kind of build momentum today with our show.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about both of you guys, I'm a fan of the show myself, is you're very honest. I feel when you're confident about something, you want to go all in and you want to tell the people like this. I even heard Doug say that was the bet of the year in his eyes. And to see that hit, that's awesome. And it might not always be the bet that you think it is or whatever it might have you, but it was kind of the perfect storm, like you said. It was great to see the confidence with the units. And I love the honesty and exposure here about that. I love that when you don't have that gut feeling about something, you might step away from it, but you go pretty much all in when you really do.
Yeah, you definitely want to be confident in your reads. And I think Doug mentioned this on his show on the show yesterday. He said that, a lot of the sharp bettors or professional bettors were actually on the other side. And he talked about, and this is great, it's a great lesson when you're betting, is he talked about at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's sharp or where the professional money is going and, all the tickets and all that. You should really trust your own analysis and your gut first and foremost. And I think, he mentioned that on the show yesterday. It was, very subtle, but I think that's a very important lesson for people who are starting out, but also for people who have been betting, for years and their whole lives. And so it's important because once you get into a groove, into a rhythm, and you kind of understand what to look for and what you think would be, like pump fakes in the market, then you should be really confident in your own read. And so I thought that was very, very telling and very nice.
Yeah, and part of that too is like you were saying that in the beginning. I mean, this is a team that has a lot of intangible things we're not sure about, right? It's a team that's in its first year of existence, and they had a different start, and then they mellowed out, and the odds kind of get different as the time goes on. And now we're in the second half of their first season. So it really is like, okay, we've been watching this team. There's different odds in different situations, but you trust yourself more than anything. You also made a great point yesterday about how all of the Suns veterans are basically free agents. So we're going to see more business decisions with player usage there.
Absolutely. And it's not just the Sun, but it's like the entire league, right? Like it's like 75 or 80% of the players are free agents. And for those who don't know, just to give you guys a quick summary, there's a huge, CBA that's being negotiated right now, which means player contracts are going to take a huge increase, which is great for the players because we all know they've been underpaid now for years. So the agents their representation is saying, well, let's not sign any deals now before that contract is done, right? That collective bargaining is done. So once that is finalized, then you'll see a lot more, contracts and numbers, dropping down. And so I think that's really important. And I think it's important for the Sun in particular. And that's the reason why I brought it up yesterday is because, they're sitting at 5-26. From a record perspective, they're the worst team in the league. They're not going to be sniffing the playoffs. So a lot of these players are already thinking about the off season. What are they going to do with their friends and family? What are they going to do next season? Are they going to stay in Connecticut, which the team is going to move to Boston in a season, right? So there's a lot of different factors that these players on the Connecticut Sun have to think about, and not just the four rookies who are under contract. So that to me was important. And I mean, that's more of like a macro level at it. That may not affect like a day-to-day game, but when you're looking at the macro perspective and you're going to be fading the sun, 4 of the next 5 games or something like that, I think all of that really matters.
Yeah, 100%. It's such an interesting time in the W with the building of the momentum of the league. And why not capitalize on that via gambling? So that's what we're going to try to do again tonight. And we have two W games on the slate we'll dive into. But I wanted to remind everyone to sign up for our newsletter for exclusive tips and free insider info at bettingweeklystudios.com. We also love when y'all jump into the conversation. The last time Albert and I hung out here on Friday, Adam Osimo actually convinced me to change my bet. I had Aja Wilson over 20, which would have hit, but he reminded us that it was her birthday and there was better value picking her for top scorer. She did indeed score 29 points on her 29th birthday. Later that weekend, she became the first WNBA player with a 30-point and 20-rebound game. I mean, dude, she's playing pissed off, and it's been pretty incredible to watch.
Yeah, she's Giannis to me. She's the, big player in the middle that does everything for the team, not only on offense, not only scoring and passing the ball, but she's playing great individual and team defense. She, to me, even though Fee is going to win the MVP and is justified because she's had an unbelievable season and the Lynx are going to set records. But from an individual, like if I had to pick a player, I think Aja Wilson is the best player in the league.
Pound for pound, and with the context of the entire teams around them, I mean, she's the defending MVP for a reason, and I feel she has many MVPs still left in her going into her 29th year. Oh, we got a conversation. Oh, I only trust betting weekly. That's a great idea. Albert went 3-0 yesterday, and we hope to go something tonight. Can we go back to, okay, I started betting on the WNBA watch. Oh, I got my first bad beat yesterday. Burden over 90.5 PRA. Damn WNBA. Albert, any thoughts on that one?
It's tough. Over betting for stars, you're gonna get a lot of bad beats, especially ones where it's like, like they had just for example, Burden, I think she had hit her PRA like 3 games in a row. And you're like, of course it's gonna continue. And it's only at 19 and a half. This seems so simple. And it's either like she doesn't play like the last 3 minutes of the game, or she gets you miss it by the hook. So I would say when it comes to prop bettings for players, you're going to get some of the worst beats ever. But also the market is it's comparably, it's a lot softer than the spreads and the totals. So continue to push at it. You're going to continue to make money. So I love to see that.
We got another comment saying, I lean fever spread. And we are definitely going to get into that debate because I also lean fever spread, but I'm not totally sold on it yet. So we'll see if we can talk ourselves in and out of that. I'll also say when it comes to bad beats, the playoffs are a different animal. And I think if you're getting into the WNBA betting this year, you might have some fun with player props then because you're going to be maybe maxing out on minutes with your stars. So that could be a fun ball game there, but we will get into that. And to your point about Wilson earlier, I mean, she's done it all. And I love that Becky Hammond said after her 30-20 that she would have done this sooner if Becky like let her cook around the glass more. But now Becky kind of has no choice but to do that given the depth with that team right now.
That's a great, I mean, that's a great point to bring up because a lot of these players are really good. A lot of these players are really talented, not just the superstars, right? And it's all going to come down to coaching, to opportunity, to being able to take advantage of those opportunities. So, that's a really, profound statement by Hammond because she's basically saying Asia could do 30-20 any game she wants, but we need her to do other things and we don't want her to be burned out. But that's why I'm a little, I guess, bearish when it comes to the Vegas and Vegas, Vegas Aces moving forward, just because they are a little thin, right, in their front court. And I don't know if Asia, even though she's been unbelievable and she's 29 years old, peak of her prime, I don't know if this is sustainable. Like, I know that Giannis can do it and Jokic can do it and Asia Wilson can do it, but can they do it for the regular season and the postseason? That's a big question mark for me.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was looking at their schedule going forward. So they're fighting the Fever for the number 5 playoff spot and they are 18-14 with 12 games left. Bet Rivers has the total win line at 25.5, but looking ahead at their schedule, they've got the Sky 3 times, the Wings once, and the Mystics once. If they won all of those, which is never a guarantee, that puts them at 23 wins. Then they have 7 more opportunities to win at least 3 more, but the schedule gets really tough with like tougher opponents, either kind of already walked into being one of the best teams with like the Lynx, or just teams that are fighting for a playoff spot. So where's your head at with kind of the rest of their slate?
I kind of like the over, Sarah. I know we've talked about win totals now for a couple weeks, and I've always kind of lean on the under. And I've been low on the Aces all season long, so it's a little perplexing for me to say over. But I think this is a team that's laden with veterans, that's with players that know exactly what it takes to now start going for playoff positioning, right? And I think
Mhm.
you're gonna see players who I've been really disappointed about, right? Chelsea Gray hasn't been great. Jackie Young's been kind of consistent. Lloyd's been a lot better now that she's moved to the bench, but like I think all of these players collectively are going to be a lot better moving forward, or I would hope so, just because maybe they were saving some stuff in the tank for this stretch run. So I like the over here because I do think they're going to take care of business against those bad teams. Because not only are they better than those teams, but those teams are also not trying to lose, but they're trying to lose, right? Let's be honest. And so I think the over to me, because I'm on the under when it comes to the Lynx. I'm on the under when it comes to the Storm. I'm on the under for a couple other teams, the Fever. But if you're on a ton of unders, that means some other team has to hit their overs, right? Like someone has to win these games. And so I kind of like the Aces.
Yeah, that's exactly where my head was at, funny enough, because I'm doing the math here and it's like that math meme where it's like, how is this adding up? Somebody does have to win these games. And if it's anybody, you can see the Aces bounce back after a lull. They've done it. That's why they're one of the most consistent teams. They know they're obviously well coached. They kind of know what they have to do to eke out playoff positioning. And there are other teams that are not particularly trying to win, and they can hang with some of the best teams in the league. So doing the math, it's like 7 opportunities to win at least 3 more games other than the worst teams in the league. They can do that. I really believe that there's some value there.
Yeah, and pretty much every time they step on the floor, they're going to have the best player on the floor, right, in Asia.
Yeah.
So it's really going to depend if the pieces around her can make shots,
Mhm.
if the pieces around her can defend. I think those two are the biggest things. If they make shots and defend out on the perimeter, then Asia Wilson is by far more than enough to get them to W's.
And she's a free agent coming up, right?
She is, yes. And she's not going to leave, though. There's no way.
No, no, but she is going to make them pay.
Yeah.
So pay up because she is actually holding the team on her entire back. But guys, in case you missed it, on Friday, the first Betting Weekly English Premier League of the season has officially dropped. Yes, let's go. Nigel, Jack, and Dan gave their favorite futures plays ahead of Friday's opener. So that's definitely still worth giving a watch if you didn't catch it before the game. And Albert, I did want to get your opinion on the biggest news of the day, or at least since 12:12 a.m. when Taylor Swift and New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce, their podcast, did announce that she is dropping a new album called The Life of a Showgirl. Yes, that is what it's called. And that kind of broke the internet. And I saw the first thing I saw, Caitlin Clark commented LFG with a million G's on the post. So we are all locked in, needless to say. I want to ask you, what line would you set for Taylor dropping a single on the podcast tomorrow?
I mean, it's minus 1,000. She's gonna drop something. If it's not like the entire single, she might give you like a snippet of the song, right? Like this
Yes.
this podcast that they're gonna be on is gonna do such crazy numbers. I'm excited for the Kelsey brothers. I'm excited for Taylor Swift. I think this is cool because I know a lot of people are annoyed when we talk about Taylor Swift and sports, but I like the crossover. I really do like the crossover of pop culture and sports. I think it all should be in one, and I don't think people should like be siloed in what they like. So if you like Taylor Swift, or if your daughters or your wives like Taylor Swift and you also watch football, I think it's a great marrying of interests. So I'm excited to catch the podcast.
100%. And their podcast is awesome. They've had LeBron, they've had Caitlin Clark, kind of all the heavy hitters there. Of course, they're from the land, so that connection there. But it's been great to watch them kind of have different success in a realm that isn't football. So I guess an aside there, but I know that's the talk of the town and it's the talk of my town. So I wanted to get your
It's
take
crazy.
there.
I think Jason Kelsey at this rate is going to make more money off the football field than when he was a center for the Eagles, right? So I love seeing people be successful, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, in all seriousness, athletes, it can be a hard transition from on the field to off the field. So it's great to see them set themselves up for success. But we can talk about the WNBA tonight because there are two games on the slate and they're both really interesting in different ways. The first one tonight is Wings at Fever. The Wings are really falling apart here, maybe by design, on a 5-game losing streak as the Fever are looking to solidify their playoff spot at number 5, with the Aces threatening to challenge, as we discussed. At Bet Rivers, the line just moved from 9.5 to 9, 171.5, and the Fever are a minus they were 500 favorite, but it keeps moving too. So they started out this month with their fair share of injuries, and things aren't going exactly to plan this season. But I feel they generally take care of business as favorites, and they've easily handled the Wings all season. They know what they have to do to gain momentum, and it's winnable games. So where's your head out on this one?
Yeah, they have covered against the Wings in 3 straight games, right? So they were 2-point favorites to start the year. They won by 8. Then 10-point favorites, they won by 19. 3.5-point favorites, they won by 10. So clearly, beating their expectations in terms of the spread. I have a weird feeling about this game. I'm not going to have a bet on it. I think the Fever are going to win. I think they're going to win pretty comfortably, but I think the number is a little fishy to me. I see a potential like backdoor cover. Maybe Arika hits a 3 at the buzzer and they only lose by 8 or something crazy like that. So I'm going to lay off of it. I do think the Dallas Wings are in full on tank mode. No one's gonna say it, but they've lost what 7 out of the last 8 games. And the one game they did win, they should have lost to the Liberty. So it's to me, I'm laying off this game because I can't really project or handicap a team that isn't like trying to win. Like I can't really do that. That's not in my bone. And so laying off that, but I think I have a better angle in the next game.
Oh, can't wait to hear that. I was eyeing Fever covering the spread, but what held me off of it was looking at the player props too and saying, well, why would this person score 20 points tonight? I just feel like the job is to get the job done here and maybe not like show out and show off and maybe, okay, we know we can beat the Wings. So maybe let's take care of business and then conserve some of our energy for the next game.
Yeah, I definitely see that because these teams, even though betting is such a big part of our fabric now, watching sports,
Mm.
it's not like these teams come into the game and say, "Oh, the spread is 10. Let's try to win by 11." Like no one's really saying that actively. Maybe they may be thinking it. I don't know, but it's not something that they scheme about, they game plan about, or scout about. So I agree. I think the Fever, who are in a deep playoff positioning push right now, I think they're going to win the game because they need to. It's a home game against arguably one of the worst teams in the league. They need to take care of business. But do I think they're out there to intend to try to cover the game? No. So that's why I'm not going to have any action on this one personally.
That's a great take. I am looking at the Wings' upcoming schedule, though. They're going to be battling against tons of playoff bubble teams that are trying to play an intense, urgent brand of basketball. So I'm kind of maybe I should still take a small wager on the spread here, or maybe wait it out and see what happens because their odds could improve in future spreads if it's closer together here, and then they have a long road ahead of them where like okay they're going to fall back apart again at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it. The line moved from 9.5 to 9. Not saying that you
Mhm.
should just follow every steam and every movement, but you have to respect some of the movement, right? And so it is a little perplexing. You can expect that Indiana is probably getting most of the bets and getting most of the money, but the line is moving against them. So that's a little perplexing for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm going to decide at the end of the episode whether I'm going to take this bet or not, but I'll mull it over while we talk about the completely different vibe that is the Liberty at Sparks. So there are tons of different angles to look at with this game. First of all, the Sparks are home underdogs on Bet Rivers at plus 148 with the spread at 4, but the Liberty have been struggling with consistency without Brianna Stewart, only beating the Wings in the Sun without her. Meanwhile, the Sparks are 8-2 in their last 10, with the third best net rating and the second best offensive rating in the league in this stretch. We do have to remember that the Sparks struggled mightily at first, especially at home, but they've turned it around completely. Now they're 15-15-1 against the spread overall after covering as home dogs again on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Liberty are just 11-18-2 against the spread overall and 7-7 straight up on the road this season. Liberty also have a back to back here, which might tie into things. I don't know, Albert, like where is your head on this one?
Yeah, so you those are great trends and great stats that you spit out. The Sparks started off really slowly this season and they've been a lot better, right? They've won 8 out of the last 10, like Sarah mentioned. The over has hit 9 of those 10 games. So the more points that are scored both on both teams, the better they play, right? They want that run up and down, run and gun. They shoot a ton of threes. Even with Brink back, they're still running a lot. But I think the value is gone, in my opinion, for the Sparks. It might come again in a week or two, but I think they've been so hot and they've been such a covering machine. They've covered 8 out of the last 10 games as well. It's hard for me to now back that team. Whereas the Liberty, this is kind of where you buy low. Even though they're 20-11 and sitting pretty, they're only 8-11 and 18 against the spread, not great. They haven't covered in 8 games. So yeah, you can continue to fade the Liberty and try to catch a falling knife is what people say, but you can also see if you could buy low. And I think this is a perfect opportunity, in my opinion, to buy low against a really hot team. After this game, though, the Liberty they fly to Vegas, like said, and they're playing a second night of a back to back tomorrow. They're going to the Lynx after that to play 2 games. So Sparks, Vegas, Lynx. That's a really tough 4 games, and they definitely need Brianna Stewart back. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go 2-2 in those, right? Split those 4 games. And I think tonight is one of the nights where I think they're actually going to go for it. If you're looking at 2 teams, the Sparks and the Aces on your schedule, which team are you going to like really go for and win and try to win? In my opinion, is the Sparks. We also know LA is not great at home. They've been a great covering machine recently and they've been on a really good hot streak, but they still struggle at home. And I think the Liberty will be able to take advantage of that. So that's my official play today, Sarah. I'm going to be on the Liberty spread tonight.
Okay, I'm a fan of that. I like the spread too, just because these games in the past this season between these two teams have been pretty close and competitive. And I do know that also might wake the Liberty up a bit, right? Like, okay, we're always engaged in these games. We gotta end this out a winner because the Sparks have kind of upset them a few times. So I think that where the way things are trending, it might end up being all right, let's close this out on a high note and get some confidence back before Stewart comes back.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, they just played a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and they lost 101-99 against this team against LA. So this is a little bit of a revenge spot. It's tough because the Liberty, even though they have championship aspirations, there's a lot of talent on this team, but they have to play really perfectly to actually cover the number. And without Brianna Stewart, they're they can't make any mistakes. And I need Sabrina to be making threes. I need Jonquel Jones to be on offensive rebounds. I just need, everybody to be doing their jobs. And I feel like I'm pretty confident it's going to be New York tonight.
Yeah, I was also going to say, I don't think Sabrina can be this off forever. Like something has to give with her shooting. And I think tonight could turn it around, especially like you look ahead of you again. Like, how do you think if you're like on a tough stretch at work, you're just like, okay, we're on the road, we're in a different project. Let me reset for a second and we'll see what happens for the rest of this stretch. But you don't want to be miserable while you're on the road on these games like this. Like it's just kind of one of those things where maybe they'll turn it around tonight.
I like it.
I was going to do Sabrina over 4.5 rebounds because I'm not totally confident in her shooting right now. Like I do need to see that improve for me right now. But I do feel like she's going to be so engaged in this game and she's really going to be like, because what are you trying to do headed into the playoffs? Like you're trying, especially without Stewie, you're trying to kind of fine tune your game and make sure you got the fundamentals down, especially they do want to win this game and get back on track and kind of make the Sparks hurt a little bit. So I feel like you got your best players doing the fundamentals.
Yeah, I like that. She's hit that number 4 times in the last 5 games. So she
Yeah.
was on that number 5 games in a row until this last game against the Lynx. She only had 3 rebounds. But I I agree with you. I expect a bounce back for Sabrina, not only from rebounds and scoring, but her shooting, right? 0 for 6 from three previously, 1 for 6 before that, 1 for 3, 1 for 3. So she's been in a rut when it comes to her 3-point shooting. It's a lot harder now because she doesn't have Brianna Stewart, spacing the floor for her. But I do think, she'll make at least a couple of threes. I don't know what the threes prop is tonight, but I think that's a good look as well because the Sparks are gonna want to run, and already mentioned earlier, the over has hit 9 out of last 10 Sparks games.
And that's a testament, obviously, to how run and gun, as we say, their offense is. But it's also a reminder that even though their defense has been clicking with their new coaching staff, like assistant coaches, and with Cameron Brink back in the lineup, there are some holes in it still, and that's just kind of like the basketball that they play. It's just kind of the it's very much leaning towards more points, but now it's a pretty high line. So I'm not comfortable betting the over here, but I do like Liberty spread. And hold on, let me check out Ionescu's threes
It's on
props
this.
right
It's
now.
on the screen right now. It's over two and a
Oh,
half
thank you guys.
threes. Yeah, over two and a half threes, juice to plus 112. I think there's some value there. It's crazy because she hasn't hit more than two threes in basically 5 games, and the line is saying over three. So I think it's high for a reason. And if I were to do another bet in addition to Liberty spread, I would probably sprinkle a little Inesco threes.
And I do think you'd probably win both if you win one, because if the Liberty are to win, I do bet that she'd probably have over 2.5 3 pointers made.
Yeah, definitely correlated. I agree with that.
I do. I just love like a plus 100 something. So that kind of maybe scratches my itch of not just taking the Sparks money line. I feel they might eke out another win because they've been winning for me recently, but I like what you're saying about the Liberty here, and I like that the spread is small enough to kind of, all right, even yeah, I kind of feel the Liberty are going to cover it.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of a revenge spot, right? We mentioned it
Yeah.
earlier. They played at the end of June or end of July, I think, and the Sparks won at the end. They won
Mhm.
101-99. And so I think this is a good revenge spot for the Liberty to get the win back on the road, and I think they'll split that because, like I said, LA, for all their great things that are happening for the Sparks recently, they're still not a great home team, and I think the way to get them right now is still on their home floor.
And it's also like, do they necessarily have to win this game tonight? No, you look at their slate, and there are, I mean, technically, your coach wouldn't say that. You'd say, I need you to win every single game, especially when our playoff situation is precarious as it is. But I do think there are easier games against easier opponents on the slate in the future with less on the line for both teams. And this is kind of, like you said, a revenge spot where there might be more incentives going on here.
Yeah, I mean, to clarify, like they have the Wings, the Mystics, and the Wings
Yeah.
right after the Liberty.
Like,
Those are three very winnable games. So if they lose
yeah.
tonight, they can still win the next three and be right there in playoff contention.
Yeah, and if I'm totally honest as a player looking at the road ahead, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep if I lose this one against the Liberty, who also need to prove a point. So that's great points all around. And I was on the fence with that one, but I think I'm going with the Liberty.
All right.
All right. And I was wondering if you wanted to discuss any of Wednesday's slate because there are some interesting games here.
Yeah, let me
Do
take a look at Wednesday really quick. So we have Chicago traveling to Connecticut. We have Golden State going to the Mystics. The Liberty, as we mentioned earlier, second night of a back-to-back against the Aces. The Dream against Seattle. All very, very short spreads, all within 1 to 2 points of each other. Basically, you just pick the winner here. I would say the most interesting game to me is the Atlanta Dream in Seattle, because Seattle's been really, really struggling. They made a great move in terms of trading for Sykes, but they haven't even won since that move. And so, to me, I think this is another buy low spot for a team that I think should be good. They're 16 and 16. They're playing against an Atlanta Dream team that's 2011, playing way above expectations, and they're only 1 point dogs, very short underdogs at home. I think just looking at the slate right now, that's probably my favorite look so far.
Yeah. And listen, it takes a few days, weeks even to get a player acclimated, especially when expected to have a significant role on a team. So this could be the time where the tides do turn for them. I thought it was interesting that the Golden State and Washington game has a 151.5 line. That's like the lowest I've seen in a in a minute. And the Valkyries are plus 104 underdogs. So I thought I was listening to you guys thinking, all right, what if I ride the wave of Golden State and pick them?
Yeah, the only thing to be cautious there is they are a better home team than they are a road team, so they are traveling to Washington there. But we know Washington, like they sold Sykes, so they're not in lose mode, but they're definitely like developing their young players, and so that could be an opportunity. Yeah, the more I talk about it, that could be a good look. But for me personally, that just won a ton of money on the Valkyries last night. I don't know if I'm willing to
Yeah.
again, right? Like I'm almost like, okay, you treated me really well. Let's move on to a different team type of thing.
This is what gets me sometimes, especially with an under. And like we were saying at the beginning of the episode, somebody has to win these games, somebody has to do the over. So I love betting the under. And then I have to stop myself and think, okay, there's a reason why the odds are the way that they are sometimes. And you had good luck with this. Let's pivot to something else.
Absolutely.
But the Mystics, I don't know. Like I know I've been even talking about them as a team that, of course, they traded away two key players, but I do think they're kind of keeping things interesting, especially with in terms of spreads, and they aren't ready to let go just yet. They got some spunky young talent, and it's like that can't be understated in a league like the W. So yeah, I kind of like cautioning against a play like that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Washington is going to be really feisty. And I know, they lost a couple of veterans that they decided to move off, like you mentioned, but there's still a lot of talent on this team. And I still think, with all their athleticism and speed, it's going to be hard for the Valkyries to hold them back. We have a comment here. Ricky Jackson over 14 and a half points. I have no read on that. That seems a little high for me, but I'm going to lay off of it. What about you, Sarah?
I like it. I I am worried about this game, but I think she's been playing great basketball, and I think regardless of the outcome, she's got 15 points in her. She's been stepping up as more than a role player this year, and I feel like she's really flourished. So I think like if you look at what the line is set at, it's going to be a high scoring game most likely, and I could see her eking out 15 points even if they lose. I think it's going to be a close game too, but whoever knows, right? But yeah, the Liberty are still banged up, as you say, and that's a great point. They are. I keep describing them as a team that, like, you cut off a tentacle and they grow back. Though they have such great depth, so sometimes it doesn't matter. But you are seeing it matter right now, and they've only won against really bad teams recently. But the Liberty, exactly, they're efficient even with injuries. They're so well coached. They gel so well together. Like the chemistry is just there. They got Ellie the elephant. Like, what else can you say about
And
that?
it's
So,
on the half court. That's what's really impressive about them because they're not faster or more athletic than anybody else. Like they have to
mm.
execute in the half court in the half in their offensive sets. And yes, I agree with that comment. Their efficiency is the reason why they're special.
For my limited viewing, the Dream seemed very quick. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so they're definitely quick, but the thing that separates the Dream and other teams is they're very long, right? They have a very big front court with long arms, and they're always contesting, getting into the passing lanes. They're kind of like your Boston Celtics, right? At their peak,
Nice.
they have five players that can guard all five positions, and that's really hard for a team to kind of exploit. So that's why the Dream have been like a really pleasant surprise. 20-11. That's very impressive, and I think they're going to be a really hard out in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good take. And I feel like they're one of the slept on teams where you don't really consider them, but then you watch them play a game and you're like, I should be considering this team for sure because they have the opportunity to become dangerous. I think maybe a few more pieces, maybe standout years from certain players, and they could really get going here for the next few years. God, thanks everybody for tuning in, commenting today because I love having the combo with you guys and seeing what you actually want to talk about and going back and forth with the bets. Like that gives us a lot to kind of think about. And Albert's such a great resource to ask. And he's just here. That's you guys. I hope you know how lucky you are to have him as a
Oh,
resource because I've learned a lot from him already. Like, seriously, thank you.
well, we went
But
3-0 yesterday, so let's try to
yeah.
go 1-0 today. We're both on the Liberty together.
Yes, yeah, Liberty covering the spread because why not? And I'm going to do Ionescu over 4.5 rebounds.
Love it.
I think I'm going to lay off the Fever spread, but I think they will cover it, but I'm not confident enough in any individual performance right now. People are trying not to get hurt. God forbid they get another injury.
Mm.
This isn't a team they have to necessarily, like in my head, if I'm on this team thinking about the future, thinking about not getting hurt before the playoffs, but still keeping my playoff positioning, I'm like, all right, maybe I don't actively try to play the best game of my life tonight.
I like that take a lot. They are trying to play it safe heading into the playoffs, and that's not only with Caitlin Clark, but that's with the players that are actually playing right now. Because you're right, they can't afford another injury to a starter.
It's been great to see Kelsey Mitchell go off sometimes too, but I was kind of looking at her points recently too and her games, just watching with the eye test. It's like she's a little all over the place sometimes. I want to see more consistency from her before I'm thinking about covering the spread here down the stretch.
Well, if you're looking for a consistent performance, playing against the Wings is perfect, right? Because they
Yeah.
have zero defense. There's no rim protection. There's no perimeter
Yeah.
defense. So this could be a game where Kelsey Mitchell has a great from a numbers
Right.
perspective.
And I fear that's what's going to happen, and they're going to cover the spread, and I'm going to kick myself. But I'm trying to implement more of what you've taught about, you know what, if my gut feeling isn't saying I need to go for this tonight, then I'm going to lay off it. But I definitely don't discourage people from going towards that one because if I was betting on that game, which I'm just going to go Sparks Liberty tonight for the fun, that I would probably do the Fever covering the spread.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Betting Weekly Fast Break. We hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe and continue to give us a lot of comments because that's a lot of fun. And we will see you back here tomorrow with the best squad in the world. Thank you so much.